two kupu. They are Poihakena and Poipiripi. Poihakena being the kupu that we use for Sydney, as in Sydney, Australia, and Poipiripi being the word that we use for Melbourne down in Victoria. And I picked these two particular words because I think they're a little bit interesting because they don't actually sound like the names that they represent. Poihakena sounds nothing like Sydney. Poipiripi sounds nothing like Melbourne. So where do these kupu come from? Well, each kupu is actually representative of the ports at those locations. Poihakena being the breakup of Port Jackson, which is based in Sydney, and Poipiripi being the breakup of Port Phillip down in Melbourne. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense that they'd be named after the ports. See, when these words were first developed, first established, the primary routes between Australia and Aotearoa was via sea, and so these were the main destinations that you travel to. I guess you didn't necessarily travel to Sydney, you traveled to Port Jackson. You didn't necessarily travel to Melbourne, you traveled to Port Phillip. And in that sense, I think they're kind of a nice little nod back to the colonial days when trade and relations between the two countries were beginning. There obviously comes a whole range of other issues with that. The fact that those words are based around the ports that we would travel between, with shipping being the primary mode of transport, I just think that's kind of nice, kind of nostalgic.